Morning. Morning, Fusion. Drew Marr. I'm not going to give you that E-liter 4K. Ike. Cuber. Nax. Ethan. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. You did. You did see me at the Dallas airport. I saw you there too. Hello, Pinky. Camo. Jazzocorn. This is the not so idiotic idiots in chat. There's actual non-idiots in chat today, but it's sus. Someone has to come in here and balance us back out. I don't like that. More idiots. There we go, Epic Pikachu. I knew I could count on you. I knew you'd never let me down. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're still waiting to leave the Austin airport, asking people to take a picture while holding a brick, posting an image of Mr. Clean over my beautiful face. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Real quick, my condolences to everyone who got purged from +2 this past weekend. And good luck to the 60 members that are left. I'm not quite sure what you're supposed to do with that small of a number of people in a Plus server, but hey, that's what you wanted. That's the environment you wanted to create, and you got it. Congratulations. Have fun with that. It doesn't matter. Like, for everyone that's been purged at a +3 will tell you, like, none of this matters. Like, it doesn't matter at all what server you're in. But I get it. I totally get. I understand the recognition standpoint of this thing. You want to be known as a +2 player because the pats on the back that come along with it. But again, you don't start off a match with more points than the other team if you have more +2 players than you. It's 0-0 at the start of every single match, regardless of who your opponent is. Do you think half who didn't get into +1 was looking at Moonlight or Starburst and say, oh, well, I can't beat these guys because they're all really good? No, like, none of that really matters. So, cheers. It's you'll be all right. It's not like you guys were scrimming anyways, unless you were. In case you were, my apologies. All you need is a friend who is in the Plus server. I did a lot of Plus server scrims back when my team was active, And I wasn't even like in the public server of the Plus server. Like all you needed was just one friend to actually get access to all that stuff. Nobody cares, I promise you. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. It is Low Ink Week already. Uh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to run Low Ink this weekend. I don't want to do anything, if to be honest with you. But we are going to do a preview on Friday. Make sure you sign up for it. Yes, there is the Ludi Speed Ladder on Saturday. If you are banned from Low Ink, I highly recommend that you play in that. I will tell you guys a little bit of a secret, though. If you are looking to play in a tournament this weekend to help your division that you're going to get, playing in Low Ink is going to help you just as much, if not more, than playing in Speed Ladder is going to if you're eligible for Low Ink. One of the members of the seating council, myself, pays attention to Low Ink. So I could tell you firsthand, yes, what you do in Low Ink does affect your seating. Speed Ladder is just one day. Low Ink is two. It gives you more opportunities for matches. And I'll also tell you, you think like Speed Ladder weighs more into your divs. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It gives us like some information. Yeah, it's like helpful information to look at. But it's like if you're just looking for results, you can get just about the same exact result. If you're trying to get banned from Low Ink, then yeah, playing in the Speed Ladder would be good. But if you are like, oh, well, I'm going to skip Low Ink to play in the Speed Ladder, and you can take this as me being like trying to sell you to play in my tournament over Ludi's tournament. And maybe there is a little bit of that, but on the back of my mind is like, if I could get less than 128 teams, I'm not going to say no to that. But I'm just being blunt with you. Like, no matter what tournament you play in, it's going to be the same exact effect on whatever Ludi seed that you get. So if you are playing in Speed Ladder with the thought of like, well, Ludi's coming up, so I have to play in this, you don't. I promise you, you do not. We pay attention to every tournament that you play in, unless we don't. And I don't know when the official Ludi season starts. I think there's going to be, I think they announced that there's a Flutie the week after this on a Saturday. And then we'll have a Proving Grounds on that Sunday. And I guess they'll give us like the week then to, we already got pinged for the seating council stuff. So it's like, all right. You're just getting 1 week out of me, though. For all of you that were well, they need to give the seating council 2 weeks to do divs. Go to hell. I'm not giving you 2 weeks to see of my time for seeding teams. Like, I'm not going to do that. And if anybody else in the seeding council wants to do that, like, okay, have fun with that. I'm not, because that's stupid. Maybe next season there won't even be a seating council. It'll just be hit a button on the sidnow.inc website and all the divs are just auto-populated in a matter of seconds. That's the future, and I'm all for that. You only get 1 week out of me. Today we are going to be recapping Low Tide City. We're going to be talking about the tournament that actually took place versus also talking about the entire event as a whole. Also, there were some tournaments that took place last week that we need to cover in the weekly recap, including the CCA, which playoffs week 3. I believe this should be the finals for most of these divisions that we'll be reading off here. So all that and more coming up. But first, I will talk about the actual tournament later. So for all the Moonlight fans on planet Earth, you're going to have to wait just a little bit here before we can get into all the shenanigans that took place during that. But I will say about Low Tide City, and what I usually say about Low Tide City, is that the tournament itself is the side event. Well, now it felt like it was an actual event this time around. The main draw to this is meeting people and getting to know other people that are within the community. But that was a problem at this event. The reason it was difficult to like meet everybody at this event, not because like we weren't packed in the sardines into like our third of the room, even though we got the much bigger room this time around. Uh, there's just way too many people. Like it is impossible to talk to everybody that you want to talk to and have the conversations you want to have with them in the 2.5 days that you have. And maybe that's why some people were showing up on Thursday. Um, but like there's just too many people. It's impossible. I talked about using the Ludi Seating Council as a reference. I talked about how to seed 600 teams in like a 1 week time, you basically get to spend 2 minutes looking at one team. Well, if you want to talk to 400 people in an entire weekend, you get to spend like 30 seconds, if that, talking to one person, which means the ton of time that I spent talking to Ike and Sofa King and Mud Cup, the Cornflower family, Falco, Brush, Magic Siren, Aaron, Toma, Tofu, and Saf's boyfriend, who's really cool, Stefan, I believe was his name. Krill Streak as well. Like, I really enjoyed having conversations with them, and I probably spent like a combined 4 hours just talking to those individuals by themselves. And it's like, well, now that leaves how much time do I have to spend talking to the other 398 people? it's it's impossible. Like, you can't talk to everybody that you want to talk to, and you can't have the conversations that you want to have with people. I wanted to talk to Vic, and I did get to talk to Vic for like a handful of minutes, but that's like really the only amount of time that you could get to talk to Vic. I didn't even say hi to Pro Chara. Whenever Chara was just like in existence, it was like it was like a rock star show going on, and it was that way in person and that way in stream too. When Chara gets up on stage to talk to Moonlight in grand finals, you see the chat is no longer talking about Moonlight or Starburst or the crowd or the chicken. The chat just goes off, Pro Chara. That's what Pro Chara looks like. Whoa, no, Pro Chara's like you don't want to approach Pro Chara because you're just like, somebody's got to give this person a moment to breathe. It's hilarious. But it's so difficult to talk to everybody that you actually want to talk to. I'm glad I got to hang out with Krill Streak. I said that was one of the teams that I wanted to meet up with, and they gave us being myself and Miss Popgun a like goodie care package with pecan pie in it and a bunch of other snacks. I didn't bring it up with me, but they made it for us, not for you guys, so you don't get to see it anyways. But they got us a little postcard with their art on it and this like really heartfelt letter about us. Like, Krill Streak was just awesome, and we got to spend like some time talking to their entire team, and they brought like their whole damn baseball team with them. Like, they were loaded for bear in this tournament. They could almost had like 2 different teams signed up for this one, but Krill Streak lived up to the hype. And I know my wife got to spend more time talking to other folks than I was able to, so I was happy that she was able to like get that experience as well. Had some really great conversations with Ike. Ike was like super chill to chat with, and I'm not telling you any of you what we were talking about, like any of these people, because it's none of your business. But we did get to we wanted to spend a lot of time with Cornflower family as well, just to see their baby. Because this was the first time we had away from our baby for an extended period of time. And just seeing how Sunflower was different, but also just, talk to other Splat parents. So that was really enjoyable. Just all around. Obviously, we got to talk to Aaron a lot too. If you don't know who Aaron is like the head. I don't even know if it's fair to call him like a head TO. He's just like the person who runs the entire event. He runs all of Low Tide and Riptide, like the head honcho of the whole event. And we got to talk to Aaron a lot, and just had some really chill conversations with him too. So we had a fun time, but I didn't talk at all or I might have like had like handful of conversations with some people, but I also just forgot some people were there altogether. October Rift was a team that has DM'd me before in the past and seemed pretty cool. I forgot they were even there until today when I looked up the Fire Pit bracket and saw they finished second place. I was like, what? I forgot. And I even mentioned them in the preview as well. There's just so many people there that it was difficult to keep up with everything. The venue itself was very cramped as well. And that's not because we were in a small room by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the third portion of our room was just like everything that was right there on top of each other. So there's 10 different stations. And I think they had like an 11th. I think they were able to set up an extra 11th station at one point because I believe one of the stations just kind of broke down. So we're like, all right, well, we already got this backup one ready to go, so we can move you over there. And that doesn't include the audience section, the screen, and the stage, and all the production stuff behind the screen. And it was the audience section was filled up when my wife and I first walked in there, and Persistence and like a Les Squiff Buff or something like that was playing on stream, and the audience section was completely filled. Most of the time on a Saturday group stage, there's just like a couple of people sitting in the audience, and they're just kind of waiting for like the next group to start. Like they're just teams that are just there to play. No, the audience section was filled up literally the entire day. Now they had like 5-6 rows of chairs initially, and they added more rows as the day went on. They could break down some station, make room for more chairs, but it was kind of just ridiculous how many people were just watching like two random teams battle it out on stream, and with just growing rooting interest and just cheering for them rather quickly. And rather early on in the tournament. So that was cool to see, just like the atmosphere that was being put out there. Also, Tory.png had a booth as well. And if you didn't see this, I don't think, I'm sure somebody's got like a clip of the line for it, but there was a line, a non-stop line the entire weekend that Tory was open of Splatoon players, just like 50 people deep the entire time. I believe Toma told me they waited in line 2.5 hours before they finally got up to the front of the booth. And Tory was also playing as well. So like whenever Tory was playing, they shut down their booth and like saved everyone's spot in line, like a save state, and then opened it up and then it started back over again. It was hilarious from the stance that the vendors that were right next to that line had to just sit there and watch like all these people coming up to buy something for the person right next to them and not come to them at all. Like that must have been heartbreaking. But it's also like that was by far the most popular like vendor ever. And like I've been to Genesis in the past, not this past Genesis. I've been to Big House. I've been to Riptide where they have the actual like artist alleys and vendor row and all that stuff. I've never seen a consistent line like that at any event, and it was insane. It was also funny because the line had extended into where the stations were. So you're probably sitting there on like station 8 playing a game 5 against an opponent you really want to beat to avoid falling down the wave pool bracket, and standing right over your shoulder is a bunch of other people waiting to buy a plushie for $130. Like that, with a bunch of other people like literally sitting on the back of your chair because they're trying to dodge the people that are moving in between you. And on the outskirt of the thing, literally right next to us, was the ultimate setups that were like you could almost catch the spit they were like Sylvester the cat spitting out of their mouths right next to you. Like it was all, the room itself wasn't a sardine room, but just the amount of people that were in there just made it very difficult. And from moving from the back, from like station 10 to the front of where the help desk and the stage was, like you had to do some like defensive lineman swing moves just to get through all of those people just to get to where you needed to go. I like how they did most of the pool captaining volunteer stuff. Like normally you would, the pool captains are there. They see the score of the game. You go to the help desk and you tell the TOs, hey, Krill Streak beat Six Pack Yolks 3-1. But you can't do that because you can't like move through all those people constantly. So they just did it all on Discord basically. But like, yeah, like the back stations, they were just off in their own little island just because it was almost impossible for the TOs to get back there to A, even know what's going on back there, or B, to like get through all the people constantly to get to where they were. So that was cool. And this isn't like me complaining about the venue or anything like that. This is the best that they could get. To get more space, A, it has to be available. B, you have to have the money to pony up to get it. And, also at the same time, there might be a prom going on or somebody's wedding, or I think the overpriced Mother's Day brunch was down in like that bigger ballroom we were in the first Low Tide City. So like there's, you got the space that you have. It's just hilarious. The problem isn't the lack of the space. The problem is Splatoon continuously gets way too big that like nobody really anticipates it. Like Splatoon number wise probably was a third of the amount of people that sign up for the event. The Splatoon did not take up a third of the space. Splatoon could have taken up like an entire half of the space just to make things like more ease for everybody there. Or maybe take Tori's booth and put them in a completely different room by themselves with how much there was going on. It was nuts. It was really cool to see that many people there. And it ultimately led to, as top 16 going on, all those people left the stations, left the vendors, and came to the stage to watch Top 16 in one of the most, if not the most energetic, and energetic crowd we've ever seen in a Splatoon venue, Nintendo, grassroots, or otherwise. Because you can have those crowds at the Nintendo's event, at the PAX ones. Most of those people are just there for PAX and may not really know what's going on. Oh yeah, Jackpot. Yeah, I remember them. They were up there last year. Hey, there's Starburst. They always win this thing. But this is people who know 100% what's going on, like 100% what's on the line. They know the history of all these teams that are here. It's a smarter crowd that's at this event that makes the energy that much cooler. And if you know, and part of the energy is just not just the crowd getting in a more consistent chants and the countdown at the end of Game 4 and Grand Finals. That sends I get goosebumps listening to that. It's from 10 to 1, but like just that kind of counting down kind of thing is something you typically never see, and that was kind of chilling. Like me and Falco hearing that as we're commentating, it was really chilling. But also the little hand clapper things, the little plastic hand shaker things, and I got the story on how those came about. So I believe it's Statario from Driving with Influence, who started passing out those little hand clapper things around the time Top 16 started to happen. About 100 of those things were getting passed out. And I looked over and saw they were getting passed out. I was like, oh, well, let me snag one of those because I thought that was pretty hilarious. And then you just see everyone at the same time just waving their clappers around. So I saw them at the fire pit later that night, and I asked, like, where did you get all of those things? Apparently, they played enough arcade games at the arcade to win enough tickets to where they could get as many of those things that they could. So they got them all from the doggone arcade and played the game so that they could do it. And that's how all of them came to be. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And I hope that it becomes something that can be used in LANs going forward. Not people spamming skee ball until they find a way to win enough tickets, but finding a way for all of us to like come together with one like common kind of chant or one like stupid little thing. Like as soon as everyone got the hand claps, it's like all of a sudden the crowd was united in one thing. And then that just led into the ready go and the like all the other chants that were going on. I think there was I couldn't tell what they were saying on game 2 Clan Blitz Umami when Moonlight was trying to come back in overtime. It sounded like they were saying pop it or offense or something. Like it didn't register to me what they were saying, but it was still, you're still just normally just hear the chat just go like, yay, woo. Like there was actual meaning behind whatever it is, what they were saying. And that was cool to see. Oh boy. Now, we'll talk more about the crowd later when we talk about the tournament because there's more to be saying about that. But I will talk about this. This being the fact that it is the final low tide city. That is something they said at the very beginning of this event being announced, that this was going to be the last low tide city and make it count. And it was. It was the last low tide city. However, I spent a lot of this time in this event asking around, talking to some people, because it was said at the beginning. I don't think it was said, but it was hinted at by a couple of people on Twitter that, like, yeah, this is the last low tide city, but kind of not. But it is 100% the last low tide city. There will never be a low tide city again. But after talking to a lot of people, the consensus I have gotten is this. I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to be not just back in Texas this time next year, but back in that very same Kalahari next year. Obviously, from the conversations I've had, there's nothing that's 100% locked in. But just by looking at what we saw the past weekend, like, who would not want a piece of that? And I've been told that, like, there's been things in works, like, long before this anyways. And I'm not going to release, like, specific sources. Like, this is multiple people hinting at this to me. And I'm not going to say, like, who specifically was telling me this stuff. But basically, don't be surprised if we are right back in the Kalahari this time next year, just under a different name and maybe just, like, a different, like under different management or something like that. But I heard basically nothing but positivity when it came to, like, the future of events in Round Rock, Texas. So just take that for what you will. Because I'll be back if it is, for sure. Last little bit before we get into the tournament stuff. Just overall, this tournament was just so much fun. This event was just absolutely so much fun. That block that I did with Rush, that was the most fun I've ever had in commentary. I mean, we had production rolling, like, laughing most of the time. Like, my face was hurting from how much smiling and laughing that I was doing. And I think that was just more so a symptom of me and Brush commentating together. But, like, Doughboy behind the camera was just having so much fun the entire event. Like, the production crew was just so experienced. Which is cool because, like, Devin is usually the main person running all the production stuff, and Devin wasn't there. So not having Devin, but still having, like level one, having that much experience in running these kinds of events, is just only, like, is only going to make things even better going forward, because there's not much like, training up that needs to be done either with the TOs that we have or the production that we have. Like, everybody's, like, super experienced and on top of it. There were a ton of issues that happened in this event, both on the production side and the TOing side, only because of the size and scope of this event. Like, those things are bound to happen, but they got dealt with. Like, before, like, I've been at Riptides where well, I mean, I guess the second Riptide isn't a fair example because nothing was working with the Switch. But I've been at low tide cities where there was just hours upon hours of delay. I remember Zach and I forget who Zach was commentating with, but they just had to stall for like 30 minutes because they couldn't get anything on stage to work. And they just had to talk and talk and talk because they couldn't get this player into the lobby at all. And I think they ultimately just didn't stream that match at all. This was like the first low tide city. This wasn't yesterday. But, like, there was just issues popped up and they were dealt with. And that was just a testament to the experience of the staff and the TOs and the production crew that was able to handle all that stuff. And it just made the event that much better when it had every opportunity to go completely off the rails. The match Falco and I commentated was That was probably my favorite match. As much fun as I had commentating with Brush, probably my favorite match that I've ever commentated ever might have been that first little set. For not because the match itself between Starburst and Moonlight, that it's not like those games and those 4 games were like the best I've ever seen, because they weren't, but just the atmosphere and everything around it elevated it to the umpth degree, which is something you can't get online. I don't care what happens at a low ink. You can't compare that to something where the audience is screaming louder than so loud that all the Smash final team like players and crowds have to look over and watch and be like, what's going on over there? What's going on the Splatoon side of things? And I don't like the narrative of yes, the Splatoon crowd was much bigger than the Ultimate crowd, and there's sometimes you'll hear cheering back on the audio when like nothing's really happening. That's because Ultimate was literally right next to us. And like their finals was going on the same time as we were. Melee had finished earlier in that day, so it was just us and Ultimate that were left in the room. But our crowd was obviously much bigger. But to sit here and say like, oh, Splatoon's in a much better state than Smash, or like, we're better off than them, like just keep like, yeah, like you can point that out, and like showing videos of the size of the crowd being different is like a factual thing to do. But I just wanted you to take it with a grain of salt, or realizing without Smash, we're never there. Like we've needed to leech off of Big Brother for so long, that like you have to pay homage to the fact that like, thank you for allowing us to exist to this point to where we can grow. And it might be to the point, and Magic's kind of alluded to this, I would like to ask Magic a lot more questions about this, what he was talking to on Glitch Cactus's podcast a couple of weeks ago. And I wish they stood on the topic of lands more than the weapon ban, to be honest with you, because I found it just way more interesting. But Magic was just alluding to the fact that Splatoon needs to start branching off and not being a part of these Smash events in order to do these things. And my first question would be, where's the money for that coming from? Like, yes, Big Dapples is doing that, but Big Dapples has a cap. Metro Inc. has a limit to how many people that they could have. Low Tide City doesn't have a limit. Riptide doesn't have a limit, because if you need more, well, we'll just build another station and we'll just keep going. We'll just keep renting more stuff. Whereas you can only fit a finite number of people in these actual esport arenas that are built to host kinds of things. They're not built to host hundreds upon hundreds of kinds of things. So that would be my question, is like, how do you get a standalone Splatoon LAN without a limit to it, and who's paying for it? Because it's not going to be IPL. But that's just what I'm going to say about the Smash thing. Like, yeah, we were much bigger than Smash's. Like our presence was infinitely bigger than Smash at this event. But you can't. I don't like the narrative of like, yeah, we're better than Smash. Like, no, we exist because they allowed us to exist for several years, and they've allowed us to grow up to this point. Lastly, and I've said this a ton of times, and I'll continue to reiterate it here. If you were at Low Tide City or you watched it, you got to see what the actual soul of this community is. And yes, I've seen on Twitter a bunch of nonsense of like, I'm going to fight this person at this land, or like these Zionists are going to come in here and start being weird to everybody. That never happened. There was no hint of any of that even taking place. Like none of that crap that gets shared around by high school Twitter has any existence in reality when it comes to these lands. These lands are nothing but chill, cool people just interacting with each other and socializing. And that's all it's ever going to be. And I'm not going to look, it's not all sunshine and roses. There's some awkward people there. There's definitely some jackasses that were at LTC. I don't know exactly who. Even if they were a Splatoon person or a Smash person or someone from the venue. But I did hear a rumor that somebody did get a citation for pissing in the bushes. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will at least mention that from the standpoint of, yes, there are still jackasses, even in this, like, it's not always sunshine and roses. But my point being, if you haven't been to one of these things, and all you see about the community is that it's just something that takes place on Twitter, and it's like, oh well, you see something and you're just like, well, this is why I'm never going to watch, or this is why I'm distancing myself from the Splatoon community, because it's just so horrible and everybody's like this. No, it's not. Like, if you saw the land minus whatever's going on in that bush, you saw what the soul of this community really is about. And that's why people keep coming back. The meta sucks. Pencil is horrible. There's this god awful discussion about splatter screen that is bringing out the absolute ugliness in everybody. Despite all of that, we keep coming back. Why? Because we know the soul of the community is really, really cool and really worth it. And that's why lands are so awesome. I saw a highlighted message at the beginning that's probably already gone, so I won't scroll all the way up there, but it was essentially my thoughts on LSL merging with MIT. I'm surprised it took that long. Not for LSL to go to MIT in general, but just LSL to go anywhere. I would have taken money years ago that LSL would have gone to like Dapples. That seems like such a natural. Now I don't know like how like TOs blend with each other, or if anyone reached out to who, but I thought like if Dapples was looking to get into the low level market, LSL is such an easy thing to pick up. But MIT making that connection to them, I'll share more thoughts about that next time I talk about LSL. But I've heard rumors that was going to be taking place for a while, so it doesn't surprise me. But good for them for finally getting that deal done. Toma, winter semis for Off Flex Mint versus Moonlight on me and Saf's block was really crazy. Game 5 moment too. You could really feel the energy. Yeah, that was probably the set of the tournament too. Well, I mean, like went to the Game 5 distance, so yeah, definitely was. Riley Rooster, it was so cool seeing Smash players come over and getting interested in Splatoon stream because of how excited the crowd was. Yeah, that is another thing. Yes, I'm going to allow 3-way. Yes, thank you, mod. I'm going to allow 3-way. Earlier highlighted message too was Ludi starts June 10th. Okay, June 10th for the date. So that means probably seeding will take place not next week, but the week after, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I didn't know what that was. Was there a Clamblitz game that tied? Did that actually happen? Somebody mentioned that. I didn't watch any of that. And I heard about the tie, but then I was also told by Brush that tie wasn't actually supposed to be a tie. Like they found a tiebreaker within the thing and it actually happened. So I didn't know what that was all about. Like I knew they were like Brush was advocating for like a certain way to break it, but then I think they found like a natural way to break that. So, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. All right, let's move along. It's time for the weekly recap. SOS number 147 took place last week. It was won by Star. Justice for Spargo took second place, and I believe that is supposed to be a smirk emote. Is the team that finished in third place. Well, if you wanted Justice for Spargo, maybe you should have actually won the actual tournament instead of, finishing in second place. That shows how you really felt about Spargo. I don't think Spargo was at the ultimate thing either. I've heard some of the Smash players talking about just how not banning Steve really has killed Ultimate over the course of the year, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, oh, you don't say. Hammerhead was won by the Howdy Hat Pirates. Mako Bracket was won by Pencil Pushers, and Lantern Bracket was won by Jelly Squids. Paddling Pool number 266 was won by Chingo and the Girlies. Second place went to Monaco, and third place was former Not +3 pickup. Now, that was Wednesday before the pickup server came out with the voting over the course of the weekend. So I don't know if they're still a former not +3 or they still are not in +3. Regardless, they finished third place, so that's not a good enough result to even get into +7, apparently. Recap of the CCA season number 5 playoffs. I can't believe they're in season number 5 at this point right now, actually. Division 1 semifinals, UCSD Esports. Weren't they playing at Low Tide City? 5-3 over Central Florida. Grand finals will be Illinois State versus UCSD. Division 2, Purdue got a 5-4 win over Case Western Reserve University. They'll play against New Jersey in the finals. The grand finals of Div 3 is going to be Cal Berkeley versus Cal Long State Beach. Long State. Grand finals is going to be Worcester Polytechnic University versus Florida. Div 5 is going to be Maryland College Park versus California State University. Division 6 is going to be Ohio State University versus Auburn University. That sounds like a football national championship from like 5 years ago. Episode 20 of the podcast is scheduled for this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Listen to Corona in mini detail the teams playing in each grand final match and what to expect. All previous episodes are available on the CCA YouTube channel as well. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by that weird human crane thing that was in the arcade. Now, I think I could find a picture of, I think it was Dafernape, who played out of their mind in this tournament, actually. The best I've ever seen David play. But they also did the crane, and I'm scrambling to find a picture of it on YouTube or Twitter. Maybe they liked it. Come on, I gotta find it, because if you didn't see it, it was just this thing you put yourself in, like you strap yourself in like you're part of the crane, and like either your friend or the staff member person operates it for you and falls down. I can't find that picture. I should have saved it and liked it when I had the chance. Darn. It's got to be here. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yo, this thing. And then you end up like grabbing one of those things. Like it sucks to do it if you fly, because there's like no way you could fly back with something that big. But the human crane thingamabob, the official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. Oh. All right, talk about the tournament. Fun stuff here. First off, just the format itself was clever. I like the fact that I think it was confusing for people when it first came out, because like the different brackets were named. Well, when I first read it, I was like, wait, you have to play through groups, and then you have to play through wave pool, and then fire pit. Like what? So basically, fire pit was silver bracket and wave pool was bronze bracket. It probably would have been less confusing for everyone if they just called it that, or just like put in parentheses those were the names. But when you start to understand that, you're like, okay, well, this all makes sense. I like the addition of, so wave pool isn't anything new. That's literally just silver bracket. That's been a thing forever. I love the addition of the fire pit bracket though, because that's for the teams that don't move on to top 24 out of redemption round, which can be rough, because in the past, if you just don't win your redemption group, you're just done. You're just eliminated from the entire tournament. So being able to include an additional bracket for all the redemption teams, I thought was awesome, and I like that. Now, you can't do that in tournaments past. You can't do that last year because you don't have enough setups. and you like need things going all the time. It was cool to do it here because you had all of those extra setups. So you had extra ways to sneak in a fire pit bracket and a wave pool bracket and all these other things while top 16, top 6 is even going on. Um, for the wave pool bracket, it was ultimately won by Aquatic Vanguard. That's not the bracket that they wanted. And talking with Ike, they were like, "Yeah, we really screwed up on Saturday." Um, they went 0-6 per games in their group. So I forget what happened there. Like they're not a wave pool team. And they showed it by going 15-0 per games in the wave pool bracket. Low quality gave them like a run in that grand finals, but they still got swept 3-0. Aquatic Vanguard should have been in the fire pit. Like I would have loved to see them, and they would have loved to play in the fire pit. But yeah, just a rough, rough Saturday. I mean, rough Swiss stage and low ink. They know how that works, but just like in Gamma Bracket, if you're not supposed to be there, you take care of business anyways. And my goodness, everybody suffered in Wavepool Bracket because Aquatic Vanguard fell down there and just took frustrations out on everybody all day long. Also, Aquatic Vanguard, one of the few teams that have 5 players and we're actually rotating them out. You can sub at a LAN. It takes a little bit of time because you got to take your switch out and let somebody else's switch come back in. But you can actually you can actually do that and strategize a little bit. I was like, man, don't take Ike out in game 2. Let Ike and Twig be in there and just kind of like destroy everyone. But they took Twig out at some point as well, and they're still able to win. So could have just been let's get everybody some playing time here. And ultimately worked out 15-0. They win yet again the silver bracket or the bronze bracket. The fire pit bracket, I honestly forgot it was going on. I think they were supposed to show so they streamed wave pool finals. I think they were supposed to stream fire pit finals as well when Rizza and Zach were commentating, because Rizza and Zach only got 2 games that they commentated, just like Falco and I. But I think they either forgot about fire pit finals or just did it all off stream, because that was all going on like way in the back of the room while top 6 was going on. And so I completely forgot it was even going on. So I went back and looked at the fire pit finals bracket, and it looked really good. You had Whip Rays here who qualified for it. I saw them being excited that they qualified for it before UCSD knocked them out. And I forgot October Rift was even here, and I think everybody else would hope to forget that October Rift was here because they literally swept everybody on their way to a final. Yes, you can get banned from low ink based off of results that you get in a LAN. No, I don't think October Rift did enough, but still, this is a really solid run, October Rift, and they almost beat UCSD Esports in a game 5. So this would have been a fantastic match for these two teams to be on stream, and it didn't happen. But them's the breaks. UCSD can still claim they are the first and final fire pit bracket champion, so congratulations to them. For the top 16, for the teams I want to mention here, Persistence did a lot better than I think anybody was expecting. Not because Persistence is bad, but this wasn't a Persistence roster at all. But they did have Rocky from Rising Matrix, who I don't think has been playing in a while. I talked to Rocky for a little bit back then. It seemed like they were just kind of like playing in some Sindel sets to just like get ready for this event. Wug, obviously Wug is a strong player who's played Project Rat, I believe is the team they're on, and they're getting some solid results. But other than that, like it was just Stormy and Lucio. There was no like Neo seems to be done playing. Talked to Neo very slightly, but Persistence started off the day by losing on stream. On Saturday, was able to bounce back. Stormy had a huge pop off stage one time. I had to duck behind my wife because Stormy almost tripped over their own chair celebrating. But it was a good win that they had off stream, and just kept the streak going there. Able to find themselves in the top 16. Nicely done for them. Catnip. First off, Sia did get their low ink ban certificate, as did a bunch of other teams. We were able to find ways to get that in. Catnip, I keep feeling like I'm overhyping Catnip here because I keep expecting them to like well, they're an actual team and they keep playing at Genesis in this event, like they're gonna find ways to get into top 5 and stuff like that, and they just keep falling short of that, which isn't like bad by any stretch of imagination. Like Catnip did good. It just obviously there's just some other more experienced teams that are just getting in their way and preventing them from moving forward in these lands here. Mickey Mart tied for 5th, which I think is fair. Yes, they won Genesis X, and I think winning that is still justified by the fact that they got 5th place here in this much more stacked event. Yes, it's a little bit of a different roster. I do find it interesting, though. The team that knocked them down into losers bracket was the Prickly Pear Lemonade team, who has both Pepe, who was on that Mickey Mart team that won Genesis back in January, and B has Pika, who was the 4th for Red Sun, who lost to Mickey Mart in grand finals and also winter finals as well. So those are like 2 players on the opposite side against Mickey Mart, and Mickey Mart lost to them 3-1 on stream. And I was like, ooh, that's an interesting storyline. And it was. And what made the storyline even more interesting is that Prickly Pear Lemonade went on to finish 4th overall. So yes, I must say, to Prickly Pear Lemonade, I'm sorry. I doubted you. I didn't think I didn't think they were going to do that good. I honestly didn't. Well, they did literally as good. They must have exceeded anybody's expectations. There can't be anyone here who honestly thought they were the 4th best team out of this. Well, as soon as you get rid of Offlex Mint, the next team up, I would have assumed it would have been somewhere between like Catnip, Red. I struggle to put Red Sun in that category, but maybe Red Sun with Dan the Man, Balloons team with Leotos. Maybe it would have put in that like 4th category. Definitely Mickey Mart. I would not have put Prickly Pear Lemonade in there, and they were. Prickly Pear Lemonade was the 4th best team, and they did it with I mentioned Pepe and Pika. They also had Shiny, formerly of Cherry Limeade, and also Mudcup, who, if you know what Azure is, you know who Mudcup is. But if you started the scene in Splatoon 3, you don't know who Mudcup is. And I was even talking with Mudcup and was like, yeah, like I haven't been playing the game in a while, and I'm sitting here saying, why are you making 4th place in this event? So it's that was the surprise to me, and I didn't think they'd do that good. So I owe you an apology, Prickly Pear Lemonade. I'm sorry I doubted you. I'll never do it again. That just leaves the final 3 teams. I'm glad all Flexment was there. I'm really glad all Flexment was there. They were a worthy 3rd seed that had the potential of beating the number 2 and number 1 seed. Well, they beat the number 2 seed in a game 5, and they played winners finals against Starburst. I think they played the wrong map list. So the map list that was printed out on stage didn't have winners finals on it. So I think what they did was just like pick one of the earlier ones, like losers round 2 or whatever. I don't think I'm not pointing out like, oh, they should have picked a different round to do it. My point being, winners finals, I'm assuming, was supposed to be counter pick, and that didn't happen. So you're sitting here wondering, well, like, would counter pick make a difference? Maybe it does. Like, you at least get an opportunity to decide game 2 and 3 if you're off Flex Mint, and maybe you could play them on all 20 maps in the venue and lose on all 20 of them. I don't know, but that might have made like a little bit of a difference. It's the advantage of playing Starburst in winners finals versus playing them somewhere else. You at least get a little bit more control over the map list. But if they wanted to do that, then beat Moonlight again, which they couldn't really get the job done. But I'm still glad they were there. I was a little suspicious when they were on stream against Secret Elixir, and Secret Elixir was up 1-0 against them. And Cactus somehow managed to celebrate without tipping their chair over. So it's like, okay, well, that's the worst sign you could have, is a team that's energetic but also not like out of control. What's going on here? And then Flexmint was like, oh wait, yeah, we're just better. So they won the next 3 in a row. and just kind of woke up from there, went on to beat Moonlight, and then well, that was pretty much it at that point. But still, if Flexmint wasn't there, this tournament would have been much less enjoyable because you needed that third team to make both semifinals and losers finals much more entertaining and much less of a like ultimate decisive like, oh, this who knows who's going to win this one, because you didn't know. And you did generally, I said this on stream, and you still believe it just looking at the roster that they have. They could have won the whole tournament. I don't think it's likely. And I'm not saying like, oh, they had a better shot than Moonlight, but I think they would have given Starburst as tough of a game as Moonlight did in that grand finals if they got a second shot at them. Grand final. Well, actually, I will say this. I would assume the difference might have been LAN experience. Helix played at Riptide last year. I forget the name of the pickup that we're on, but they did go really far. And I think they pushed that Last Light team to a game 5 with whatever team that Helix was on. I don't think Zenith has played at a LAN before. I don't think half has played at a LAN before. I mean, they've been dominating LAN tournaments, but I don't think, or online tournaments. I don't think they have LAN experience. And what nobody has is experience on that kind of stage at a LAN. So like that if that's your first LAN and you're feeling that kind of energy from the crowd, that's a hell of a way to kind of like get introduced to things. I don't know what Max's LAN experience is either. I mean, Max has been around the scene a long time and had been playing at a high level for a long time. Like Max had sub for both Starburst and Jackpot at times as just like the fourth, because like one of the other players was out. And it has like been, I don't know how long they've been running 4v4 Sundays, but like that has always been a tournament that would drag out the top. Like Max has good standing in the top level of the competitive scene. So, but I just don't know how much like all that online stuff doesn't always directly translate to LAN success. And maybe that was a little bit evident in the Secret Elixir match, and maybe that became a little bit more of a factor, but maybe actually it really didn't, because there was just so right there with Moonlight. Sometimes you just lose. Somebody's got to. Grand finals, as Falco and I are commentating it, I feel like such the bad guy, just like constantly trying to like remind people, like everyone's just getting so excited and hyped for Moonlight that I'm constantly just trying to remind you, like, look, this is Starburst. They've been here a gazillion times. Like Moonlight has to win 6 of these things. Like I feel like the buzzkill with that, but I also just don't want to be caught up in the moment of it, which there were several times where I did just get caught up in the moment of it. But I also just want to, I wanted to be able to put it down in perspective of what is like what we're actually seeing right here. Because if Moonlight were to win, it just adds more significance to the fact that Moonlight won. Think back to the grand finals we've had post-pandemic. So like the first Riptide that we had, that was the best grand finals we've ever seen. The passing of the torch from not FT Win to Starburst, where they came back and won, and people literally stormed the stage to celebrate that. That was how we started off LANs out of the pandemic. And then what happened? Low Tide City, Curb Stomp Grand Finals. Riptide the following year, Curb Stomp Grand Finals. Shine was competitive. Cherry Limeade versus I forget the team. Was it like Your Mama or something like that? They played like that was a good Grand Finals, but it was Shine. The Big House. The Big House is going to go down as the most stacked Splatoon 3 tournament of all time as far as LANs are concerned. So many strong teams. Starburst, Sayonara, Prochara had a pickup. Keo and Leafy had a strong pickup that finished in second place. Like there were so many strong teams and pickups that were playing at Big House. Starburst 3-0'd in Grand Finals, and it wasn't competitive at all. Low Tide City last year, 3-0 Grand Finals, wasn't competitive at all. Riptide the year before, or last year, FT Win 6-0'd Grand Finals, not competitive at all. Like we haven't had a Grand Finals worth a darn since 2021. Like literally every LAN Grand Finals has been a snooze fest, where after game 1 you're just like, all right, here we go. So that's why when the reaction happened that Moonlight won game two, that's why Falco is going nuts from the commentator's perspective. And that's why the crowd is going insane because we're actually tied 1-1 going into game three in a grand final set. Like the crowd has been waiting for 3 years for something to erupt about. And when Basil throws in that second power clam, they finally have 3 years of emotion that they can let out, and they just let it all out, and it just steamrolled from there. Moonlight winning game two, Shadow somehow literally being a shadow onto the tower at Art Academy to win that one, and then game four where they get that huge lead, and then they just punk Starburst. Like they're just flanking on them and just cheesing on them. Like Shadow is just having a little bit of a fun time setting up camp in the corner. Omega's just rolling all over the damn map like they don't even care where they are anymore. Like that is like Moonlight just fed off the energy of the crowd and got way too comfortable and just dominated them in that game four. And then that's when the roof exploded. And I honestly, if Moonlight had won the bracket reset, I honestly don't know how we're getting out of that venue. Like, I think the stage collapses at that point. Like, I think people just bombard the stage and like, we have to like protect Starburst and get them out of there safely. Like at the courts being stormed at Duke or something like that. Like that crowd was ready to celebrate and go nuts. And they had finally an opportunity to do just that. And it was a very pro Moonlight crowd. And it wasn't an anti-Starburst crowd at all. When Starburst finally won, everybody gave them the cheering and the recognition that they deserved. There was no like boos or like, oh, we don't like this. Like Starburst flexed and showed that they were a real champion. That break in between the two brackets though, that was interesting. I was, you see me on stream just being like, where are they going? Like what happened? So apparently Magic told me Omega had to go take a bathroom break. And I wonder if that just like completely killed everything because Starburst, like as robotic as they are, Zero is anything but that. So like adding Zero to their team gives them like this awesome new player as far as playstyle is concerned, but it also gives them emotion, which we're not used to seeing any emotion, positive or negative, out of Starburst at all. But then you got Zero there who wears his emotions on his guns that he's been building up over there. You like everybody else on Starburst just chilling. You see Jared like rolling up sleeves trying to keep hands. No, like Zero's walking off stage doing push-ups just to like, I don't know, like punishment. Like, come on, we got to get this game going here and let's get this back. And Zero gets back on stage and Moonlight's gone. And I wonder if giving Starburst that time to mentally reset and talk about like what they want to do going forward without the crowd noise going insane, without Moonlight behind them just like patting themselves on the back, like maybe giving Starburst that moment was the worst thing Moonlight could have done to go into that set, because Moonlight literally or Starburst literally just looked like they rolled up their sleeves and just started punching Moonlight in the face for 3 straight games. Like it looked like Big Brother got pissed off that they lost their first game and started to like, okay, well now I'm going to try hard and show you guys why we are Starburst. That's what that looked like. And you can't blame them though. Like if you got to go use the bathroom, you got to use the bathroom. But then I saw Omega tweet out how they're like using the bathroom like every other set. So like, I don't know if like Omega practices the religion of just being Episcopalian or what, but maybe we drink less water, Omega. Like stay on that stage. You got Starburst dead to rights. Put them away. Don't give them a chance to think about it. And they did. Starburst really took care of business right there. But a fun set nonetheless. So what do you think about Moonlight going forward, though, into this one? I don't change what I think about them. Like I said at the beginning of the year, I want to see Moonlight win a major. Like I predicted that was going to happen. And then if they've won this, I would have tried to spend this entire episode twisting this around to how I would have been correct because this qualifies as a major. And they've shown flashes in the past where they can beat a pickup of these kinds of players, or they can push an FT win to a game 5, or they did beat Starburst in a best of 5 set technically in this one. But it's just been flashes at this point. It hasn't been consistent results. Like if they had to play a Starburst and then a Jackpot and then an FT win, could they mow 3 teams down like that in a row? The answer is no, and that's what they're going to have to do at some point if they want to win an actual legit major. But you got to acknowledge they're at least getting better. They're at least getting close. And I like that they have like 2 different comps. I like that they don't have to force Bagel onto pencil or Basil on the pencil the entire time. I like that Shadow's tent can be used into the fold and is a real problem. I mean, you talk about Starburst mentioning the real problem is the Kraken and the tent, which makes me wonder why they picked Splat Zones at Mahi Mahi as their illegal counter pick anyways. Like, Kraken and Tent are both like, sure, we'd be more than happy to play you guys there. But still, like, I like Moonlight. I want to see them continue to win. The problem is they are God's killers at this point, which is a good category to be in, but the 3 gods still stand alone at the top of the scene, and rightfully so. And that was flexed at the end of Low Tide City. Starburst is the more experienced team, and experience really, really showed in that bracket reset. That was nothing but an experienced butt whooping that they put out in that final set, and it was cool to see from their perspective. What all these teams need is more opportunities. What's next for anybody? There's no super jump announced. There's no 20XX. We've really just been relying on Chara to create events and Kyo to create events that completely dunk on all over the community guidelines, but nobody from Nintendo seems to care about that. So, like, I don't really know. Like, we need more events that's actually catering to high level. We don't need any more of these weeklies. We got too many weeklies and bi-weeklies and tri-weeklies and monthlies and all this stuff. Like, those are all good for, those are like the true mid-level tournaments. For people that are like, oh, mid-level has nothing. You literally have every single tournament because top level doesn't play in any of those events. There needs to be more events that top level actually cares about and interested in playing in. And until that happens, I don't really know when the next opportunity Moonlight is going to get to slay another god. But if they get more opportunities, it's going to happen at some point. And it might not be at a LAN where everyone can mob them on the stage, but it's hard not to root for Moonlight, even when you're commentating them. But at the end of the day, they got a long way still to go. Because that mountain, that mountain of experience that Starburst was able to put on display, and I love the fact that Zero adds some emotion to that team. That's a great addition for them all around. That's tough to beat, and it might be still tough to beat for anybody for a long time. I think there was a handful of highlight stuff, and we'll call it a day. Popgun, show us the low quality pin. It's in my bag downstairs. I threw everything in the laundry. Not the pins, but my bag had my clothes in it, so I just left all the bags downstairs. I still got it, along with a bunch of other stickers. Fun fact from watching Shadow's POV, he snuck onto the tower because the screen blocked Jared from seeing it. Really? Like Jared's own screen? Yeah, it would have been Jared's own screen. I got to go back and watch that, not from Shadow's perspective, but from like because the stream had Jared's perspective, and I hate that. Like I hated when your teammate's Booyah Bomb would be thrown somewhere in Splatoon 2, because it's like, dude, your Booyah Bomb's like blocking my view of things. Like, it seems like Booyah Bomb and screen can have like a double-edged sword effect to them in some instances. They beat an FT win before too. To be fair, yes, yeah. Are you counting the last last light thing, or are you talking about? Because there was like there was a gimmick tournament they got a really good win in on like a game 5 as well. because I remember them like winning on Clamblett ship shape and everyone just being like, wow, Kraken is kind of broken. Opinion on the day one late night tiebreaker. I still don't have an opinion on it because I still don't really know if it actually, like, I know I only heard about it. I never actually paid attention to it. Uh, Maybe because I didn't really care at that point. I was already a few liquidated drinks in at that point. It is 8 o'clock Eastern time. So let's start wrapping this up. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna close the stream and actually gonna watch that Chara because I am kind of curious in that because like we didn't see what really happened commentating. I literally say like, how'd you get on there? That's going to do it for today's episode of the Popcast. We're going to be previewing Low Ink on Friday, probably 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time before we have to go pick up PJ. So look for that. We've got we don't have a lot of verification to do. People have been on top of it. We got good stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast anyway, feel free to reach out. My socials below: Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, hashtag. Not hashtags. YouTube at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm /Popgun. Let's go to Jared. Jared's stream. No, let's go to Jared or Bran. Let's go to Bran. Bran's actually a member of Starburst. I'll see you guys on Friday. Don't forget to test for COVID because people have already tested positive. So you might have been exposed. No, you absolutely were exposed. Like, we were all bumping into each other the entire weekend.